Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming to our weekly mayoral news conference. Today we have a lot to talk about. We have some exciting announcements to make, some presentations to make, and then of course we want to address a few topics surrounding city business, and then after that we'll take some questions. With that, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. As always, as Melissa stated, we have an information-filled press briefing for you today, and we look forward to addressing a host of topics. Before I begin, if you would allow me a personal moment, I'd like to wish to opportunity to stand before you and share on her birthday, but I'm wishing them both a happy birthday. Turning to city business now, we are very excited to announce historical funding to the Eudora Welty Library Recovery Project. I'd like to ask if Peyton Smith and library representative, library board representatives can come and join me. These funds were made possible after the president signed a $460 million spending bill. This grant will be used to relocate the Welty Library and at a new downtown location. We know that the City Council recently voted to demolish the current location. A beautiful green space and garden will be created at that location, which will be not only a beautiful addition to our city, but a more fitting tribute and welcome to the two Mississippi museums. But as promised, we indicated to our residents that we had no intention of not having a Eudora Welty Library, a downtown library here in the city of Jackson. And due to their creativity and diligence, our library board has been instrumental in helping us secure this funding. And we look forward to the next episode or the next era of the Eudora Welty Library. With that, I'm going to step aside and let Mr. Smith share some comments with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Peyton Smith, Chairman of the Jackson Hines Library System Board of Trustees. And, I would echo the Mayor's comments. We are absolutely ecstatic to have this investment from President Biden and our congressional and Senate representatives. In particular, we want to thank Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, who spearheaded the effort to secure these funds in the Senate appropriations process. But as well, we want to thank all of our Mississippi congressional delegation, Congressman Thompson, Senator Wicker, Congressman Ezell, Congressman Guest, and Congressman Kelly, all for their support and their investment in the Jackson Hines Library System and in the city of Jackson. This money, $3.75 million, is a tremendous first step. As you can all see, is a tremendous first step in restoring library service to downtown Jackson. We also want to take this time to thank the mayor and his team for their support and partnership in pursuing this funding. And in particular, I want to identify our executive director, Mr. Floyd Council, whose trip to Washington, D.C. last year spearheaded, kind of initiated these conversations that are ultimately culminating in this funding today. We are very excited. This is a historic day for the library system, and we are committed to the city, the county, to our state, to delivering a library in downtown Jackson that every person in this city can be proud of. And we know that day will be coming soon. Right now, we are working very closely with the mayor and his team, the city, the county board of supervisors, to identify the long-term home for the Eudora Welty Library. This is truly a generational moment for the library. When the Central Library has identified a new location in the past, that move has been something that has lasted for 30, 40, 50 years. And so the decisions we make about the long-term home of the library are ones that will outlast everyone in this room. And so we take that responsibility very seriously, and we are being thoughtful and strategic as we try to identify where to place the new Eudora Welty Library downtown. And so at the same time, we recognize how critical downtown library service is for some of our patrons on a day in and day out basis. And so while this process is something where we hope to have an announcement in the coming months that will result in a construction process that may take years, we want to find solutions for our patrons who need downtown library service now. And so we are currently working on finalizing plans for a temporary downtown library that will be kind of a smaller footprint, but will restore library service to patrons in downtown Jackson. And so that's something we hope to have an announcement on in the coming weeks, with a target of opening that temporary library this summer. So thank you, Mayor, again for your help. And Mr. Council, if you want to come up and make any remarks.
I want y'all to join me in vote for pictures.
I really just want to check. Okay. Well, I won't cover all of my points because Mr. Smith has covered most of them, but I do want to share that in tandem with all of this beautiful development with the funds that are going on this Thursday, we will launch our 5-year strategic planning process for the Jackson Heights Library System, and this is being done by Library Strategies out of Minnesota. Actually framing the future of the Jackson Heights Library System. Our board has completely assessed all of our current facilities, and so we are able to communicate what it will take budget-wise to repair those facilities. So we're super excited. Finally, we will complete our move out of the Eudora Welty Library into the Jackson Medical Mall by April the 1st, and that's all. Thank you.
I'm gonna let you take it. You can have it.
Thank you.
Once again, I just want to commend the efforts of our library commission, who's doing a wonderful job along with the executive director. We've been having robust discussions about all of our library needs across the city. The condition of the facilities, and even new offerings, new things that we want to present in our libraries. We are competing in a new age, an age where people go to bookstores and they have coffee and they have, more interactive spaces. And so not to be left out and not to be behind the times, what you're seeing take place now is a team that is not only looking at the history and the importance of our facilities, but looking at how we turn to the next 25 years or more and have a suitable facility and program accommodations to meet our residents' needs. So please give them a round of applause. Next, we're asking that you join us, Jackson. This is a new campaign that is hosted out of our Public Works Department, specifically our Solid Waste Division, where Ms. Lakeisha Weathers, who I'm waving up, is leading. We are continuing our efforts to clean up our city. We started off with our Stop Trashing Jackson campaign. Many of you joined us last year to take part. We had some of our JPS students participate in the Stop Trashing Jackson citywide cleanup campaign. But now we are announcing another campaign aimed at helping our residents take ownership of their communities. Time and time again, we have said that our city will not be able to meet all of its challenges without our collective genius, without us working hand in hand with one another, that we don't have a been community members, whether it's neighborhood associations across the city that have consistently participated in cleanup campaigns, and I want to recognize their efforts. Our campaign today is not to suggest that people have not already been working. It's not to suggest that people have not already been doing their fair share of work, but it is to say that we should all pull together and pool our resources, our talent, our people power in order to accomplish an even bigger feat and a more impressive job. I want to acknowledge that there have been people in Northeast Jackson, specifically around the I-55 corridor, that have not only raised funds, but have consistently gone out. We've worked with the Transportation Commissioner. We're going to make sure that they're legally compliant because we don't want good work to be pushed aside because of the technicality or the dangers that do exist, but that we can help properly protect them as they do good work. With that, I'm going to step aside for Lakeisha, who's been doing an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Lumumba. Well, I can pretty much scrap this because he gave such a great introduction that there isn't much for me to say. But I just want to reiterate, the Join Us Jackson campaign, to his point, is not to say that we have not had community volunteers, businesses and leaders come and join us in this fight. It is just to say that we need more hands. This is all of our issue. It's not just a city of Jackson issue, it's a citizen of Jackson issue. And we need you all to join us in this fight. And one of the main things I wanted to point out is what we will focus on is education, connection with the community, and collection and beautifying events. And we can do this with clear communication, commitment to the cause, and bringing community awareness. We need you all to report. We need you all to show up. We need you all to participate. With that, I want to point out two events specifically. While we do have several Connect to Collect and beautifying events scheduled for the upcoming months, I wanted to point out our kickoff to the Join Us Jackson campaign. It will be on April the 20th at the Word of Life Poindexter location. Mr. Berry, the youth pastor at this location, reached out to us. He has partnered with community leaders, activists. We've also partnered with Richard Bradley with Metro Booming in the area, and they're all going to come together on that day. We're going to clean up and beautify the spaces within that community. We also want to thank Mr. Berry for joining in the Adopt a Block program through Keep Jackson Beautiful. He has committed to maintaining that area once we leave that space, and that's what we need. We need residents to adopt the spaces within their communities, to take ownership of those areas within their communities and keep those areas beautiful. I also want to take a moment to Mayor Lumumba's point to thank Councilwoman Angelique Lee and Heather Logan. Join Us Jackson signs available for community residents. And these signs are just to say, hey, we were just here. We just cleaned up this space. And we need you all to help keep us clean, help keep this community clean. We can do that by not littering and not illegal dumping on our streets. We will also provide community awards and recognition to those neighborhood associations and those communities that come out and join us in this fight. We will provide certification, Clean Community Awards to all of those that join us in this fight. Those individuals that have the most volunteers and collect the largest tonnage will receive those rewards. And we will also provide them with signage that they can place out in their communities as well. I also want to thank Keep Jackson Beautiful for their continued support and partnership with Solid Waste and the City of Jackson. They have several upcoming cleanup events and beautification projects that she will be announcing soon. Alicia Crudup is the director of that organization, and I would be remiss if I didn't stand here and mention her name for all of her environmental efforts and programs to beautify this city. Mayor Lumumba has already thanked the commissioner, but I also want to thank Jackson Police because they have partnered with us as well. I want to thank Chief Wade for opening up his doors to us. We have had several talks about how they can get involved with this fight against illegal dumping. I want to thank them for the arrest that they made in the last couple of weeks with catching that individual that was illegally dumping in our city, and that's what we need. And that's what we mean when we say join us, Jackson. Report, join us in the Connect to Collect, join us in this fight, and we thank you.
That wasn't that hard, Lakeisha. She always does a great job, not only communicating the programs, but I want to publicly acknowledge her hard work and diligence each day. I blow Lakeisha up. I'm calling her 24/7. Whenever I see litter across our city or illegal dumping, and she's always responsive. We just need to make certain that as our solid waste division responds to these challenges, that we continue to hold people accountable, that we, in the spirit or the notion of entitlement that believes that someone else is responsible for cleaning up after you. And so thank you for your good work, Lakeisha. Thank you, Satara, and the rest of the solid waste division. Next, we spoke to you, I think, maybe a week or two ago, and we acknowledged that the Jackson Police Department was going to be hosting a talent show. And I'd like to call Chief Wade forward so that he can give more information on this. Chief Wade and I were going to do a duet. He couldn't get the steps right, y'all. So we decided, he was a little offbeat, and so we decided to scrap that. It was going to be a surprise. It's even a surprise to him, right? But I want to thank the Jackson Police Department for understanding that their responsibility is broader than just responding to crimes, but being a resource to community. That is what this looks like, and this makes me proud. So, Chief, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon. All right. First of all, I want to thank everyone who participated and sponsored and gave donations for the talent show. Me as a police chief, I know I take the blame when things go wrong, but when we take credit, I want to give it to my team. I want to give it to my team because they made it happen. Administration, Chief Buckley, Chief Grizel, Captain Vance, the whole team, they made this happen. And what happened was an amazing event this past Saturday at the Convention Center. And I want to thank the mayor for allowing us to be able to use the Convention Center. I know when I came to the mayor, I guess he thought I was trying to be the next Quincy Jones or Berry Gordy when I said I wanted to host a talent show. But he digested and said, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. But we celebrated and honored our talented and great kids here in the city of Jackson. We wanted them to know how amazing, brilliant, courageous, dynamic, and fabulous they are. They truly are. The event was called Jackson Police Department Presents the Show. We had auditions for about 3 weeks leading up to the event. It took about 4 months of preparation to pull this off. We had 10 acts that actually did an amazing job Saturday night. Took so much courage to do what they did. We had a young Tina Turner, 6.5 years of age, perform Proud Mary. Amazing. With a 17-year-old who actually won first place, a senior at Jim Hill, $1,000, first prize. Second prize was to a 12-year-old who won $500, who was a cowboy singing the blues, if you can imagine that. Then the third place went to a 14-year-old, $250. He was a pop, lock, and break dancer. Doing Silk Sonic, Bruno Mars. Amazing, amazing talent. But every kid could have won. That's how amazing it was. Being a celebrity judge, I don't know what a celebrity came in at, but we had to choose. And it was so hard to do that because these kids were absolutely amazing. But as I told Captain Vance, I wanted every child to win, to be a winner. So every child that competed at least got a trophy, a certificate, and $50. Every child. It was amazing. We casted a tremendous spotlight on our youth Saturday night. We honored them, commended them, and celebrated them for simply doing the right thing. Doing the right thing, being positive, and being productive. I say this often to my team. We have to invest in our youth because they are our future. They are. And they have to know with an education and an imagination that they can change the world. They can change the world, all right? Now, there were so many people who donated. The VFW, Chris Gray, Constituent Services, the Sheriff, Jones, the Jackson Police Foundation, 99.7, JSU, Rob J. Was so many people that played a huge part in making that happen. And it wasn't because of Chief Wade, because it was an investment in our youth, in our community. If there's anything that I forgot, I'm sure Captain Vance can lean into it. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Chief stated, it was incredible. It could not have been better. And it was a community effort, along with the people the Chief named. Kroger donated goods to have. We had a green room for the kids. So they were escorted to the stage and they were escorted back, and they had the real celebrity treatment. And everybody was so happy. And if you were there, you could tell that even after the winners were announced, there were no losers. Yes. Everybody felt like a star. And the judges were so stressed out. Chief Wade, they were so stressed out. Kayla Thompson, Arthur Kane, they were stressed out. They were sweating. They kept calling. It just shows, what we can do when we all get in together and we lean in together, and it shows when we have the right leadership in place and the vision can go forward. So whenever you say it's a first talent show, that means we're going to have some more. There will be some more. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Ryan Portis, an extraordinary company barbershop, who actually did the flyers, and the day of the show cut the guys' hair. Our male contestants, they got their hair cut there that morning. They look sharp. They look good. and he'll let you know. He'll remind you. He'll let you know. As a matter of fact, Arthur Kane was up there getting his hair cut at the same time. So, right. He was getting sharp. Everybody had to be sharp for the show. The leadership that we have is great, and the community is great. And, it's believe in Jackson and believe in these kids.
What do you guys commend the police department, Chief Wade. This is amazing work. And we need our young people to know that there is reward for doing the right thing, not just talking about the small element, the small group that sometimes chooses to do the wrong thing. We need to celebrate our children more globally, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you. So we are all looking forward to this weekend. We have all come to enjoy the St. Patrick's Day Parade. The full day of activities in downtown Jackson start at 9 a.m. There will be a children's festival, and that will be on West Street in front of Thalia Mara Hall. At 10 a.m., the Marl Pet Parade, same location. At 11 a.m., the Children's Parade will be at the same location. Once again, that is West Street in front of Thalia Mara Hall. And at 1 p.m., Howell's St. Patrick's Day Parade begins at the corner of State and Court Street. Once again, at 1 p.m., the parade begins at the corner of State and Court Street. We're looking forward to not only Jackson residents, but visitors near and far coming to enjoy these festivities with us. We couldn't have imagined in our wildest dream that our St. Patrick's Day Parade would grow to the size that it is today. We expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 100,000 people in the city of Jackson. So I'd like to thank Malcolm White who does this, helps sponsor this each year with very little support. The city only gives a small sliver of support, and that's all he asks for. But he does this out of his love for the city, out of celebration, and out of just being a dedicated Jacksonian. I'd like to ask if Chief Wade will come up briefly just to share some of the security measures that will be in place. Thank you.
All right, I know the mayor started off wishing his beautiful daughters their birthday. I would be remiss. My daughter's birthday was last Thursday. So I would like to wish her, Joshonda Wade, a happy birthday. She makes Daddy so proud. She's in grad school at I Love Jackson State University, so proud of my baby. But St. Patty's Day Parade is going to be a huge undertaking. We expect a large crowd here in the city of Jackson. Public safety is the most important thing. It will be a collaborative effort between Capitol Police, Jackson PD, and Hinds County, along with our federal partners. We anticipate having some more safety meetings prior to the event. You will see a large JPD presence at that event, a large JPD presence. We're not new to the show. We've been providing security for St. Patty's Day since its inception. So we understand the blueprint, we understand what it takes. We're excited about what it brings, the economic impact to the city of Jackson. We are fully committed to making it a safe family event this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Once again, we thank the Jackson Police Department, all of the organizers, funders, and supporters of the St. Patrick's Day Parade. This is just one event in a portfolio of things that we offer as a city. And I keep teasing this, but there is something to announce very soon coming to the city of Jackson, and we look forward to that being an addition along with these events. On the offerings side, I want to remind everyone that the Easter egg hunt, which is sponsored by the Department of Parks and Recreation, is March 30th at VA Legion Softball Complex, which is at 4500 Officer Thomas Catchings Drive, and it will be for children ages 4 to 10. Ages 4 to 10 years old, and that starts at 12 o'clock noon. Once again, March 30th, VA Legion Softball Complex, which is at 4500 Officer Thomas Catchings Drive, and for ages 4 through 10 at 12 p.m. All right. Also, out of our Parks and Recreation Department, we are gearing up third. The program itself runs from June 3rd to July 19th. Once again, the program runs from June 3rd to July 19th, but registration begins April 3rd. For more information, we will be posting that soon. More information will be coming with respect to these programs and what they offer, okay? March of the Mayors. You know, every year I got to stand up here, Chris, and say to the other mayors, we beat you again, right? We continue to win as a city. Even though we received the most expensive item on the list, peanut butter, the city of Jackson still is the winner of the March of the Mayors Challenge. We collected peanut butter, as I said. I want to thank our Constituent Services Division for coordinating this effort. Thank you to the Jackson Fire Department for their support in this event. These food items went to restock food pantries right here in the metro area to ensure those who are in need of food don't have to go without. So, and JPS, and to help. Okay, they took locations, so there were locations at Jackson Public Schools. Obviously, this is a competition with a good purpose. So even as I joke about our winning again, I want to commend all of the communities that support, all of the people, regardless of what city you live in, for having a heart to give and a heart to serve. And so we look forward to next year. Chief Wade, it would seem to me that they should just put our name on the trophy. That kind of saves time. Whatever the item, bring it, right? We'll do it again. But this is the spirit of Jacksonians to give in this way. So let me turn the entire page to a different subject, and that is trash. I know that there will be a lot of conversation or discussions about trash. Before we started this process, before we released an RFP that the council asked for, we were not under any obligation to do so, but we did it even with great concern, and we announced what those concerns were. I pledged right here on this microphone that I would not make this a contentious process. I pledged that we weren't fighting anymore, that we were going to provide the facts. And if you've noticed, I've been in a somewhat jovial mood today. Maybe it's my daughter's birthday. I don't know what it is. But I remain committed to that aim. We're not going to fight. We're not going to have arguments that don't benefit our residents. We're simply going to put forth the facts so that you have the information to operate with. And so I will dispel myth from actual fact, but not to be contentious, only for the benefit of our residents, because you deserve to have truthful information. First, and these are all comments, these are things that we've heard in the media. And so these aren't things that we're bringing out of the clear blue sky. These are things that have been reported on, and now having the opportunity to speak to them, we will. First, we know that Councilman Ashby Foote has said Richards wasn't the lowest and best, only the lowest. Fact. Richards was absolutely the lowest and the best. The second response didn't even meet the most basic requirements. Therefore, they weren't even qualified to handle the job, regardless of price. That is absolutely fact. There were two submissions. One didn't make the minimum requirements, which is indicated in a memo from legal before the scoring was even done. Let me say to my friend Charlie, I think you did a wonderful job outlining many of the facts in one of the recent town halls that I think happened. I do want to make one clarification because it indicated that the mayor's selection was Richards. I have never selected Richards. I have gone with the recommendation of the review committee every single time, right? And so I have never, for those who don't know the process, right? The process isn't just that I decide I like a company, I pick that company and I put them up. There is an RFP process. There is a very rigorous and specific process by which submissions go in. There are questions that they ask back to the review committee that they ask in order to get clarification. And so this is how we know whether a company meets the minimum requirements. This is how we know whether or not they can procure trucks, whether or not they can secure a bond, whether or not they've been in business for the last 5 years, all which were minimum basic requirements of this contract. And so Richards was not only the lowest, they were clearly the best because they were the only ones that could meet those requirements. Councilman Stokes recently said, the city of Jackson is trashy and Richards isn't doing a good job. Here are the facts. It is not Richards who trashes the city of Jackson. It's residents and people from out of town who choose our city as a dumping site. Code enforcement and JPD have arrested people who have literally come into our city and dumped trash, appliances, and debris. We are grateful to Richards as a part of this contract for agreeing to participate in citywide cleanups and litter campaigns. And so I don't know how many people are actually buying that one. I don't think that it was one of his strongest arguments, but nonetheless, we want to separate fact from fiction. It is not Richards who trashes our city. It is our responsibility as residents. It is each and every person that people I see who reach out of their car. You don't want your car dirty, but you don't mind your city being trashy. You think that somehow it's okay for the neighborhood you live in, right? When you drive people in that nice, clean car, you're passing these dirty streets that you have helped contribute to its dirt. And so I'm going to speak honestly. I'm going to say that we have to hold ourselves accountable, but we certainly wouldn't put that in the laps of a contractor who is not responsible for that. Councilman Banks has said we don't need carts, that people don't want carts. There are a few things that even before I get to the facts on this that I want to be clear on. The carts that are in this contract are not the same agreement that the county is under in the county agreement. I think that the county agreement requires that any trash that you have has to be in the cart and they won't accept anything outside of the cart. That is not the contract in the city of Jackson. If you want to put bags out, you can choose to do that. If you have another cart that is your favorite cart and you choose to use that, you can use that. If you don't want a cart as a resident, you can choose to decline and not get a cart. But the facts are that the carts are beneficial for several reasons. First of all, they help keep our neighborhoods clean, actually. When you don't have trash bags that rodents, dogs, any manner of animals get into and then carry the trash away or spread it across the city, the cart helps protect against that. Oftentimes, residents place trash outside in Walmart or Kroger bags. It creates uniformity. When we have trash day, we will all look uniform. We will all look and remind ourselves that today is the day that we put our trash out. Maybe, Lakeisha, remind people to keep our city clean on those days. Also, the carts are ergonomically sound, which are created for the hoppers in mind. This is looking at our workforce. This is why the carts are so important. This is why industry standards across the country are going to carts, because these trucks actually have tools or equipment on the back of it that can pick up the can when it's a uniform can and dump it out. So that's less wear and tear on the bodies of the men and women who pick up our trash each and every day. I want to let you know that in the past, not only have they not had the benefit to reduce the weight and strain on their bodies, many of them have worked in a temp staff capacity where they had no health care, they had no vacation, and they had no 401k, right? And so when we talk about living wages, not only in the city of Jackson, but across the nation, we have to be one of the major contributors to ensuring that we create a standard that all companies should live by in the city of Jackson. And so that is why the carts have been a part of this agreement. And in fact, the cart was the lowest of the two remaining bids. The option with a cart, right, in the last RFP was less expensive than twice a week without a cart. And so the notion that this was some unduly selected expense for the residents is not consistent with the facts again. Councilman Banks also said we need a local subcontractor on this contract. Fact, Councilman Banks is only pushing for a specific contractor, and that is Mr. Lee Bush. Now, let me be clear. I don't have a problem with Mr. Lee Bush, right? I think that he is a wonderful businessman in the city of Jackson. And so I'm just giving you the facts. This isn't to be disparaging to anybody. This isn't to ruin anybody's reputation. I'm simply giving you the facts because there'll be a lot of debate to take place tomorrow. And in the shuffle, we don't want to yell at each other to get these facts out. I want you to know this information. I believe one of you asked who the other company that bid, right? And so just the facts are is that Mr. Bush has not been in the residential. So he does not have the equipment. And so if Mr. Bush will be added to this contract, that will purely be a Richards disposal decision. It is in fact illegal. It is illegal once an RFP goes forward. People have said who their subs are and who they're working for me or anybody to require a company to add them to a contract. And so Mr. Richards is in fact aware of Councilman Banks' desire for local participation. And I think that he has expressed a willingness to accommodate that as best as he can. What he said he cannot do is not be the one responsible for the bond, not be the one responsible on expenses. And I think as business people, we understand that would be illogical for any business to go into a 50-50 partnership with someone, anyone, who does not have the financial resources or even the experience to bring to the table to do that. One of the rumors is that the mayor is getting millions under the table by forcing the city to get carts or through an educational piece. Now, I started this by saying that I was going to maintain a jovial mood and maintain a smile and make certain that I don't get into a back and forth. But please don't take my smile incorrectly. Anyone who participates in this slanderous type of discussion, either publicly or in a private way that can be proven, I guarantee you, in fact, I'm assuring you, that I will sue you. Discussion. I have never, nor is it in my principle to cheat our community, cheat anybody, and take anything from any contract. And so I would never do that. And this is not, and just as I would never do this, I have never done it on this contract or any other contract. So I want to be clear. But back to my smile, all right? But I will sue you. And we've heard people say this on the radio. We've heard people even say this from as egregious of a place as the pulpit in certain churches. I won't say any names, but you would be amazed at some of our religious church leaders that are involved in city business, that are behind trying to steer contracts. And, I've read a lot of scripture, about how, that evil spirit tries to point and direct you to doing the things that they are guilty of. They would not, in fact, be that sincere. And so for us, this was always about the people of Jackson. This was always about the lowest price. This was about fairness in contracting, because if we allow ourselves to continue to be exploited in this contract, then it opens the door for people to exploit the city in every contract. We've talked a lot about things like water and water billing, and we still don't have an efficient water billing service in the city of Jackson today because we had companies that took advantage of the procurement process with our city. And so our residents have been harmed for over a decade. So these aren't crimes, these aren't victimless crimes. These are crimes that the toll and the number of victims may not be fully counted in any real way. And so those are the facts. I just wanted to clear those up. Okay. Another rumor. That Richards is going to use the carts in order to get rid of the hoppers. That is not going to happen. In fact, it's in our contract that there be 2 hoppers on the back of each truck. We believe that technology shouldn't replace our workforce. It should make the job that our workforce has to do easier. And so this is not, they will not be replaced. They will not be fired. This is to make their job easier and less wear and tear on their bodies, as we said earlier. With that, if you have any questions, I'm ready to take them. Yeah, well, my prayer is that tomorrow we can take a vote, that we can secure for the residents of Jackson a garbage contract, that we can live up to the word that we've given MDEQ. If you remember recently, the council voted to approve a settlement with the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality with regard to our last trash stoppage, pickup stoppage, where we took a fine up front, but we deferred the rest of the fine to be in abeyance if we could demonstrate that we could secure a garbage contract, I think over 2 years or more. I think 2 years or more. And so my prayer is that we're able to move through a lot of the rhetoric and myths that have been put out and do this for the residents of Jackson. Lastly, I'll just add this. When I say that it's about price, I say that it's about price because this is a paid-for service. This isn't something that comes out of a budget that we decide that, hey, we're just going to cut, one less, area of town and we'll apply this money to trash. This is put to the water bills of our residents. We already know the third-party administrator has made clear that he has, in fact, raised the water rates on our residents, and that is necessary when we look at the decline of our infrastructure. And so to, add insult to injury, the fact that the market has already changed. Garbage prices have gone up. In fact, before we released this RFP, we said, hey, if we do this, we're just going to have to pay a higher price because the cost to secure trucks is higher. The cost of fuel is higher. All of these things that have to take place. And so it's about the residents because we don't want them to have an even higher water bill with sanitation on it to pay. Yes, Charlie.
So the Richards contract was $891,000 a month. Would you be willing to share what the contract of bid was for national collections?
I don't have that. I think we can share, but I think that the primary point of that is that when asked in the RFP process if they can demonstrate their ability to purchase the trucks, they responded that they were unable to do that. When asked if they could demonstrate that they could have a bond, and companies have to have a bond, you could have a truck that hits somebody and so, or create some great damage and the bond is necessary. They were unable to show the bond. When asked if they had been in residential pickup for 5 years, they were unable to show that. So it was really, in some sense, without verification of a price of carts, or not carts, trucks, right? Without a verification of the price of, or the ability to get a bond, then it's somewhat arbitrary, the number, because your price is in large part directed by the cost that it takes you to get the trucks to pay for everything to set up the business. And if you've been unable to get trucks, if you've been unable to secure a bond, right, then you're unable to really tell us what your price is. So, but we can still provide that to you. Yeah.
But you said that Richards was the lowest.
It was the lowest and best out of the ones that were selected. The legal department stated that the other ones should not even be graded ultimately because they could not meet the minimum requirements, right? And so that goes back to another former myth that was being stated by Councilman Foote specifically, where he said that Richards failed in the last RFP and was the worst, right? Well, first, a failure would be to not be able to meet the minimum requirements. A failure would say that you don't have the basic or the requisite skill or investment in order to do the contract. Richards has been in residential garbage collections for 40 years. And not as long as Waste Management, but 40 years at the lowest price is good enough for me, right? Not to mention that we've seen Richards now pick up our trash for over 2 years in the city of Jackson. And so the proof is in the pudding. The proof is the fact that they go and collect our trash each and every week under less than optimal circumstances. Let me say why that's less than optimal. Because they have a workforce that they can ensure that you'll have a job next year, right? And so if I'm working for you and you can't promise me because I don't have a long-term contract that I have a job, then the second that another opportunity rears its head, then I'm going to leave for that. And that makes for more turnover in an already difficult space or a difficult operation to maintain your workforce. The workforce is very mobile in that particular industry.
Just lastly, does the city have any plans to bring a recycling program back?
We do. We've talked about a recycling program where we choose a location to have recyclable items taken to. Charlie, if you can just let me get past trash, then I can pick that up. But we have not, that has not fallen on deaf ears, and we're looking for a program that is suitable for our residents to participate in. Unfortunately, we don't have a good history, and the United States doesn't have a good history in the recycling space. We do it very poorly, and so the global industry, China, namely China, who was one of the biggest consumers of our recycled items, has largely reduced what they take in from the United States because they say that they have a lot of expense actually separating recycled item or recyclable items from things that cannot be recycled, and so that's what makes it difficult. But we will continue to look for a suitable operation for recycling. Yes, sir. And I need you to speak up a little bit.
Would you comment on the Mississippi Capital Region Utility Act now that it's passed in the state Senate instead of the House?
Nothing more than to say that this is an effort, a money grab is what it is. It's not an effort to help the city of Jackson. It's an effort to take over a utility so that they can pass contracts to friends, that they can do this in a selfish way. And it flies in a direct opposition to the reason that we got the money in the first place. I want to be clear. I want to be clear how the $800 million was secured. When we went to Congress, and when I say we, I literally mean myself and Marcus Williams, my detail officer. We sat in a room with Senate appropriations staffers as the president was beginning to sign his end-of-the-year omnibus bill. And they knew the challenges the city of Jackson had faced. The EPA administrator had reported to the president the situation on the ground after having an opportunity to not only review what was happening in the city of Jackson, but to review the history of the state funding. And they sent that money to us directly out of concern that the state of Mississippi would not properly fund the work of our water system, or that they would never see it. And so to now try to take over that water system, right, is another effort for them to come back around and get their hands and control of that water system. I know that there are residents who say, listen, I just want clean water, right? And most people don't care how a watch works. They just want to be able to tell time, right? But I have to inform our residents that it does make a difference who's controlling your system. Whether or not you can secure and be promised that you'll have not only safe drinking water, but it will be equitably distributed across the city is, in fact, important to this conversation. And I do not believe that you will have the well-intentioned individuals running that system that will make sure that that water gets to South Jackson like it needs to the same level of reliability. In fact, better for both South and North Jackson than it has been historically, but to the same level of reliability that we've even been able to depend on historically. And so, I understand that Representative or Senator Parker said, now that we got the money from the federal government, I just don't remember Representative Parker being there with me, right? I just don't remember Representative Parker being a part of the conversation. In fact, I was in a discussion with Representative Parker last legislative session when he was proposing a bill to take it over. And I was telling him all of these things that we were working on, that we were getting expertise. And right then, I think we had just secured the money, or not long before we secured the money, and I told him that we had a funding strategy. And at that point, he said that cleared a lot of the concerns that he had. And I think that it's also disingenuous for the third-party administrator to now be a part of these conversations. If you don't agree with Ted, just keep listening, because he'll likely change his story, right? It changes depending on the day. And Ted helped us author the language that was giving funding a BRIC grant that we received. So residents of Jackson, we received a multi-million-dollar BRIC grant that is to pay for the planning of whether we need to renovate our current water treatment facility or build a new one. And so now our third-party administrator, who once again has the benefit of $600 million and another $200 million, so $800 total to use, is saying that we don't have the funds to match that BRIC grant, while simultaneously trying to convince us that it is advantageous for him to purchase a $3 million building for Jackson Water, where we know that we moved all of the city operations to 633. He could more than take advantage of some of the space there. So if we're going to, talk about where we spend our dollars, you can't, on one hand, didn't secure to meet another grant that we, once again, worked to bring in-house. And so I think people need to know the truth and the history. Is it pulling up? Okay. Keep Jackson Beautiful is working on a recycling program. I think that's what it, okay. People from Madison and Terry, okay. Forgive our technical difficulties. We have recycling for water bottles in partnership with the city at city locations, at Smith Wheels, the zoo, ESC Center, I guess Escape Center, I don't know what that is. ESC, oh, it's actually just the initials. We're trying to actually make a word out of it. The ESC Center. Yeah. 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 Well, I think that while it makes it less inclined that you just pick your cousin, right? It still leaves opportunity for people to do it based on political favors or friendship, right? One of the things people talk about, when I'm appointing people to boards, sometimes it takes so long because I want to make sure that I get the right person, right? And I have friends who ask me to appoint them to things, and I feel that if we're really friends, then I should be able to come to you honestly and say, this ain't for you, right? I love you, but this ain't for you, right? Because I think if we're truly going to get to a better place, then it's time out for contracts that don't really build our city. It's time out for taking advantage of minority contracting rules instead of actually seeing those more minority contractors doing work and putting people to work. It's time out for the friendships that do these things. This is why our city is in the financial state that it's in. This is why contracts have bled our city. Not only is this a better business model and we shouldn't be doing that anymore, we can't afford it. We simply can't afford it. We have gotten to the cliff's edge, and we can't afford to do that anymore. And so we should never have been doing it, but we certainly can't do it now. Okay. Charlie? You got it? All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Well, I'll just say stay tuned. That's what I'll say. Stay tuned. But I do want to point out, sometimes in our nostalgia, in missing these events that were a part of our childhood, part of our experience in the city of Jackson, we fail to appreciate or be in tune to what is happening, right? Not only do we have the St. Patrick's Day Parade, not only do we benefit from a very robust Jackson State football schedule, we have events, new events, each and every year that are taking place. The Wine and Food Festival was a tremendous hit, right? We had to turn people away, and so we look forward to not only maintaining these new events, but looking at how we bring some of the legacy events back to the city of Jackson. So stay tuned, and we'll have more to report. All right. All right. Thank y'all very much.